It's good to be back. Isn't it good to be back, Romeo? Hi, everyone. That sounded super lame. Hi, everybody. I'm back. I took the last couple weeks off just to take care of myself, started a new job, so I needed some time to manage that. But now I am back and I missed you. How are you doing? So today I wanted to pour some wine and chat with you about sewing. I'm gonna call it Wine and Chat. I'll come up with something more clever later. If you are new to us, my name is Nikita and welcome to my channel where this is what I do. I drink and I sew things. Today I am drinking, Ménage à Trois, aged 3 months in bourbon barrels. I feel like I have a theme. I have a type that I like. Today I'm drinking a 19 Crimes wine. This one is the Uprising. It's a red wine aged 30 days in rum barrels. A 2018 Pinot Noir. I'm very excited about this because it was aged 75 days in brandy barrels. I don't know if you noticed, but we're not in my sewing room today. I thought I would switch it up. See, I am getting better. Put the bird in. Make the birdie sing. Okay. Also, aren't these coasters super cute and fantastic? My sister makes these. I will link her shop in the description because they're adorable and amazing and you should totally go buy some. Ooh, you know, I've never had this one before. It's a little bites a little, it's a little toasty. I like it. So everybody, welcome to my living room. Also, I want you to check out these amazing pillows. It's Nick Cage. So you think I'm fancy and bougie, but guess what, honey? Trashy. And then we have good old Uncle Danny. I'm just gonna leave these here so they can stare at you while I talk to you about sewing. So I was looking at my analytics for who subscribes to my channel, and it turns out that my audience is like 95% above the age of 45, which is like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, you guys are my peeps. But it did get me thinking about how not a lot of people my age that I know sew. So that happens a lot. So I thought I might talk about why I like sewing, how I got started sewing, why I started this channel, and how the heck I managed to do it when I have like a tiny baby, and hopefully maybe encourage or inspire some other people who are younger to sew too, so that, you know, this is something I think everybody should learn how to do. Plus, it's like so fun, you guys. So fun. Okay, so how did I get into sewing? How did it all start? Well, I was born. Just kidding. So my grandma sewed. She sewed curtains and quilts and lots of clothing and matching dresses for my cousins and my sister and I. Seriously, like we were amazing looking. They had matching hats and everything, like cute little decorative buttons. Man, she did a great job. So my grandma took me and my sister and my cousin to sewing classes where we would make like these little teeny pillows that were like super easy to make, but were like really fun, and they were designed for kids. There's a place in Portland, I think it's called Acorns. I don't know if it's still there. Acorns and Threads. That's what it's called. So my grandma and I actually went to a summer camp together, a grandma-granddaughter camp in New York, and we sewed this great pillow. I'm gonna go get it for you. See, look how cute that is. Oh, my stepmom just gave this to me a few weeks ago because she found it, and I couldn't believe that she still had it. It's this little envelope pillow pattern, which is this, where you put the pillow inside the envelope, and that's why it's called envelope pillow. But it's just simple little projects like this that got me started. So my grandma took me to these classes. She taught me how to hand sew. It was actually my stepmom who first taught me how to sew on a machine. Gosh, chatting about sewing is so much better. Also, how do you love my sweatshirt? Isn't this great? I like to party, and by party I mean drink and sew things. My mom bought this at like a thrift store, but it says like, I like to party, but by party I mean drink coffee and sell houses. She was like, oh no, I can make this better. So she made it all cute and put like my little logo and everything on it. Isn't that awesome? Go mom. So what was I talking about? So my stepmom taught me how to sew on a sewing machine. We made something similar to that pillow. It's like an envelope cover. Super easy, but it kind of got me thinking about like, okay, maybe this could be kind of fun. I can make like useful stuff. So that project actually is super easy. So I'll probably do a tutorial on it soon. I can show you how to do it. It's a great beginner project. You can like teach all your friends or just make a bunch of throw pillow covers instead. So my grandma ended up getting diagnosed with something that's called frontotemporal dementia. And it's a pretty rare form of dementia, but what it does is it takes away your ability to speak, and it also takes away your fine motor control. So she was no longer able to sew. So she had all these like quilt tops and quilts that were cut out that hadn't been sewn together yet, and partially done projects. And when she wasn't able to sew anymore, she gave her sewing machine to my stepmom. And then my stepmom ended up not liking it, and because it was too fancy and just it was too much for her. So she gave it to me, and that, my friends, is the machine that I still have, that I make all of my videos on. I absolutely love it, and I'm still attached to it even though it has severely injured me twice in the past 2 weeks. If you're squeamish, you could just skip ahead for like 30 seconds. Okay, so first, I was putting a new bobbin in, so I had the bobbin, holding my thumb on the bobbin case. I accidentally hit the foot pedal so I could bring the needle down, so I could bring the bobbin thread up. That bobbin case is metal, and it went into my thumb. Oh my gosh, I had to like unwind the hand crank to watch it slide out of my thumb. It was terrible. I still have like a little thing. It doesn't look that bad, but it was really deep. And then last night, I got burned on my finger because I was trying to clean the machine and grabbed it, and apparently the light bulb gets really, really hot. Who knew? And I just right on it. So I got a little burny blister right now. But I still love this machine. Why do I love this machine? So I ended up taking this machine, and my husband and I, after we were first married, we lived in a 500 square foot apartment. It was so tiny. Oh my gosh, it was tiny. And I didn't have any space to sew. So she gave me one of the quilt tops and the back that went with it, and I went out and bought some batting. I had no idea what I was doing. And I sat on the floor and used the foot pedal as a hand pedal. And the very first thing I sewed, you guys, was this quilt. So she did basically like all the work, but I put the back on, and I figured out how to like fold it so that it made these corners. I know that they don't look super pretty. This was the first quilt that I ever made. Had no idea what I was doing. And I sewed it on the floor of my teeny tiny apartment. And I gave it to her that year for Christmas. So after she died, I ended up getting it back, and this is probably just my favorite quilt because of the memories that are attached to it. And I think that's the thing about sewing, is that even if you have no idea what you're doing, people appreciate the things that you make for them. And I can point out to you every single mistake on this quilt, but most people wouldn't do that, right? Like my grandma loved this quilt, like absolutely loved it. And it reminds me of her. So even though I look at all the mistakes, I still love it, and I still sew quilts because of this first one that I made. So I think that just goes to show, hold on, I gotta take a drink. You don't have to have any idea what you're doing to start sewing. You just go for it. Just go for it. I would just like find projects like on Pinterest that I was like, I want to sew that. Then I would basically like bull crap my way through it and figure it out as I went. And that kind of goes against the perfectionist side of me that I know can be really hard for some people to get over, but also like I just kind of learned that way, like hands-on, you know? So if you're thinking, I can't do this, I don't know how to sew, oh, it's too hard. I believe in you, my friend. I believe in you. You can do it. You can do anything. You can do hard things. You are a rock star. Never forget that. Oh my gosh, you should buy this wine. What did I already say? This is Ménage Trois, aged 3 months in bourbon barrels. Oh, it's a cab. It's a cab. 2017. Wow, it's good. So that brings me to the next part of this video. Why do I love sewing so much? Well, honestly, probably because it makes me feel close to my grandma, who was like my favorite person in the world. My daughter is named after her. I've got pictures of her in my craft room. Basically, all of my sewing supplies I inherited from her after she passed away. And every time I use that machine, every time I use that rotary cutter, every time I dig through my stash of patterns or elastic or bias tape, so much of it came from her, and I'm just reminded of her. So that's probably the main reason I do it. But also, I just love how you take fabric and these raw materials that don't look like they could become anything, and then you can destroy them by cutting them up and piecing them, and then you put them together and they become something new and wonderful. And you can start with just fabric, but then at the end you have this thing that you just feel so proud of. Like, I accomplished. I made that. I made that. Incidentally, that's what I say every time I pick up my daughter. I made that? With more wonder in my eyes. It's so much easier for me to imagine, like, oh yeah, I can make a quilt. I made a person. How is that allowed? Plus, when I get to sit with my wine or my tea or whatever on my sewing machine, and I can like put on a murder mystery, or I can watch Friends, or listen to an audiobook or something, I just am able to kind of de-stress, disconnect from the world. It's like that thing that gives me a little bit of me back. Which brings me to my next point. Why did I start this channel? That's a great question. Why did I start this channel? So I became a mom almost a year ago, which is crazy insane to me. Like, people tell you how fast it goes, but like, oh my gosh, it goes so fast. And I love it so much. My daughter is so much fun, and she gets more fun. So if you're like in the beginning stage, it gets more fun. And people tell you, oh, you're gonna love your kid more than you could ever possibly imagine. And you're like, yeah, okay. But then, like, you guys, I will have like a really rough day with her where like she's just, you know, I'm so exhausted at the end of the day, like emotionally, physically, just everything, exhausted in every single possible way. And I'll be like taking a bath or like laying in bed, and I will miss her. I will actually miss her, and will like look at pictures and videos of her because I miss her and I just love her that much. Nobody tells you that when you get pregnant, am I right? But I got hit hardcore with postpartum depression and anxiety. And I'm sure part of it was because of the pandemic, but a lot of it was just because it's overwhelming to become a new parent. And when you have all these hormones flooding through your body, and I grieved that transition from going from no babies to being a parent. And that was a really rough transition for me. And I think it's rough for a lot of people, but when, you know, I look at like social media, and when I look at a lot of my friends who have babies, like it just feels like they're built to do this. Like they just thrive being a mom. And I'm just over here driving the struggle bus. And I just felt alone, and I felt just so overwhelmed, and like I was the only one who missed my old life or wished that I could go back. As much as I love my daughter and never want to go back. I don't know, does anybody else feel like this? Is this just me? Am I making a video for the world to see, and all the haters are gonna say like, oh my gosh, you're such a bad mom, you just... But if y'all are riding the struggle bus with me, I would really appreciate it if you would tell me that. I see all these perfect things on Facebook and Instagram, or even when people say, oh, this is the hardest thing I've ever done, but I love it. Like, can I just say this is the hardest thing I've ever done? Full stop. Like, yeah, just assume I love it, okay? Could we just talk about how hard it is? So it took me like 10 months to really feel like myself again. 10 months, you guys. So almost a year. So part of me feeling like me again is because I've been seeing a therapist. Like, that's super important. Been seeing a therapist, and that has been incredibly helpful. Plus, she's a quilter. Like, we were made for each other, you know? It's just perfect. But it's also because I decided to start this channel, and I decided that I was going to have this thing that I was going to work at and study and learn so that I could put this thing out there and have something that's just mine, that I can feel proud of, and that can be me, that's separate from being a mom, if that makes sense. I love being a mom, and it's probably the best job I've ever had, but the hours suck and the pay is terrible. Am I right? So I guess that's just me ranting a little bit and maybe trying to let you know that you're not alone. You're really not. I'm here with you too. I'm driving the struggle bus. I'll bring the wine, you bring the Cheetos, and let's just do this thing together. This is Romeo, by the way. My sweetest, goodest boy. Anybody else have a giant dog that thinks that they're a lap dog? So in an effort to get more people who are not sewists into our little group, I'm going to be doing a series on kind of those like basic sewing things, like how to choose a used sewing machine, like what to look for when you're looking at a used sewing machine. Some super simple beginner projects to teach you how to use that sewing machine. Maybe how to like wind and insert your bobbin without totally destroying your thumb. Apparently I could have used that lesson. And just some other like fun, useful projects. That's kind of what I want my channel to be anyway, is beginner sewing projects that you can come and do with your glass of wine in hand. So not only do you get to learn some new sewing things, or maybe just some old sewing things, but we can have some drinks and have fun. Woo! If there is anything that you want me to cover, if there's anything that you want me to do a tutorial on, Romeo and I would like you to leave it in the comments, and I will do my best to try to cover one of those things or answer any questions that you have. And I super appreciate you hanging out with me today. This has been really fun. Just, you know, the three of us, or however many there are of you, hanging out, drinking some wine. Really, it's just me and Romeo and me talking to myself in my living room. But so if drinking and sewing things is something that you're into, or something your spouse is into, or somebody that you know, I'd appreciate if you would like and subscribe, share this with them, maybe check out some of my other videos, and cheers to you, my friend. Thank you for watching. This is a good wine, Romeo.